Pop the question, the right one. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast of The Ordinary Maverick. This is Ajay, your host, an ordinary maverick sharing real life thoughts and experiences and maverick tips. Request you to please hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss another episode going forward. Idioms could be a word or a group of words that gives you a figurative meaning that may not necessarily be understood from the literal definition. Interesting, right? Well, we have many such idioms like hit the nail on the head, blow off steam, piece of cake, let the cat out of the bag, raining cats and dogs. Well, you get the drift? One can't really translate these idioms word for word as that's just the literal meaning. But as these idioms are, they all have a figurative meaning. Well, pop the question is an idiom that has been in use since the 17th century. It means asking someone to marry you. Wonder how it came about. I guess it's because it's one of the most important life-changing questions that one could ask. As history goes, initially the phrase was used for when one asked an important question. But gradually, by the 1820s, this was solely meant to ask if someone will marry you. Over the years and across continents and cultures, the phrase has grown in popularity, so much so that now it's kind of almost synonymous with asking the question, will you marry me? Come to think of it, this is one of the most important questions one can ask in their lifetime. Asking someone to be your life partner, spend the rest of their days with you, growing old with you is definitely a key milestone in your life. But behind this one question that changes everything are multiple questions that have led up to this one. And asking the right question for the big question is an art by itself. There are many books that have been written about this topic, and it's a key skill to have in a workplace for sure. Often enough, the difference between a good manager and a not so good one is the ability to ask the right questions and then listen. So here's my take on it, and let me share that through a story. The story is of how both my wife and I went about nailing our commitment. Reflecting back, I think we did a great job with the questions. In just about a month now, it's going to be 27 years since we got married and over 28 years since we have known each other. And the decision to spend the rest of our lives together came from asking the right questions on the day we met. As my wife puts it, the answers I gave kind of sealed it for her. She said yes, and the rest is history. Without really knowing it at that time, my answers to her questions were the right ones, and they clicked and were stored in a razor-sharp brain and her memory bank. I say that for a reason. My wife is super good with her decision making, and it all comes from this ability to ask the right question. And then she also has an amazing memory. Gets me into trouble often, but that's for another episode. So what were those specific questions, you may ask? And then what did I reply? Honestly speaking, I don't quite remember. And that's going to get me into trouble again. But she does remember all of that and also the evening we met for the first time. In any case, these were kind of, conversational questions, the ones we ask when we first meet someone and are getting to know one another. But again, the right questions can give you tremendous insight as well as create a long-lasting first impression. In our case, it definitely worked. How does one hone our skills with asking the right questions and then really listening to the answer, picking up the cues from the body language? All of these kind of help you in assessing the person, the situation, and then responding effectively. Out of all the skills one needs to have, I must say, asking the right question is the most important one. Just like we do while hiring a person. The famous interview process, you see. Again, depending on the job, the right questions matter. Let me share something interesting. The interviews were ongoing for entering the army. Now it's critical that soldiers think on their feet, don't get frazzled, and are able to respond effectively in any situation, right? Well, the top scorers in the written test were all called for an in-person interview. Very few made it through the interview round. One wonders why. As weren't these the person who topped the written exam? Well, some of the questions asked went like this. Interviewer: in the army, you need to obey all orders without question, right? The candidate: yes, sir. Interviewer: well, I'm giving you an order now. Go jump from the window. The candidates expressed shock and refused. The interviews actually were taking place on the 15th floor of the building. The ones that made it through this question thought on their feet. What did they do? Firstly, they heard the question well. It said, go jump from the window. So they walked to the window, climbed on the edge, and jumped inside the room. Amazing, right? As the order wasn't go jump out of the window, it just said jump from the window. And they jumped inside the room. That's good thinking, right? Well, here's another one. Interviewer: you are in your house and a group of your male friends have come over and you are having a small get together. Suddenly, the door opens and your sister walks in naked. What do? Most candidates were flustered, expressed discomfort, didn't quite know what to say. Some said, I would rush with any cloth I can find and cover her, etc., etc. The candidates that made it, well, firstly, they remained calm. They listened to the question carefully and responded saying, I would do nothing as it's my little 2-year-old sister. Again, listening skills, not jumping to conclusions, and keeping calm in situations is a skill that one needs to practice and build. We all have to work at it. And it stems from mindfulness, knowing yourself, and going with your gut. Remember the key components of the Maverick formula? The world is built on questions. Everything we know today is because someone asked the question and then someone took the trouble to find the answer. But to ask the right question, one needs to know what is the answer one is looking for in the first place. And to get to that, you need to know yourself. Sounds complicated, right? Well, it's not really. Go deep within to go further outwardly. And here's a Maverick tip. The more you ask yourself why, the more you seek new experiences, awaken your curiosity, the more clearer the questions become. And the right question leads you to the right answer. Write in your comments, share your feedback. I would love to hear from you. This is Ajay signing off, wishing you all the very best. Keep well, stay safe.